Hello, I'm Kevin Moore, and this is a special December edition of Twilight Talks. We want to dedicate this episode to some of the guests and moments that were part of the show in the past year. This is CUNY TV, the television station of the greatest urban university in the world.
As the sun sets at the end of a New York workday, the mind transitions from daily tasks to the cloudier, more philosophical regions of social issues, culture, and politics. In a democracy, every perspective on the world is important, and people in art and culture have surprising bodies of knowledge that can shed fresh light on today's reality.
Twilight Talks takes place at a particular time and in a particular place. The time is twilight, of course, and the place is Manhattan's West Side, one of the most radically transformed areas of the city during the past several years. The view and the sunset, of course, are inescapable, and New York City, in all its complexity, has been an unavoidable part of just about every conversation.
I don't feel like I live in New York. I feel like I am passing by, even though this passing by, it's been 40 years, and it's a long passing by. And when I first arrived here, my building, which is an artist co-op, was immediately next to the Hudson River. So the nearness of the river is the wilderness that I need.
Eventually I went to school in Italy and then come to the States to go to college. I wanted to go to an American college. And so my parents said, well, okay, fine. It's a good idea that you go to the States. We'll come with you.
There's a line in Out of Egypt, though, of somebody saying, of thinking about where to go, and like Japan, and that not New York, there are too many Jews in New York.
That was a feeling. New York is filled with Jews. How could you live with so many Jews? That was my father who said that. But we came here, and it turned out to be very hospitable. I mean, immigration does work. Actually, it's funny, we have the Javits Center behind us. Senator Javits was behind my coming to the States. I arrived too late to be admitted into the fall semester, so I had like 4 months to do nothing, and I found a job at Lincoln Center as a mailboy, and it was my immediate induction into the USA. Or at least New York. And it was wonderful because I had a job, I had money for the first time since ever. I also like the fact that for the first time in my life, I didn't have to hide that I was Jewish.
You get this reveal where you realize that it looks like someone jumping in front of the Swiss Alps, but they're actually really on a rooftop in New York City. And you're German, is that a way to combine, maybe in some ways, two realities or something?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of an ironic idea to do that, because I'm going back and forth all the time. Yeah, and actually the mountains, the Alps, they have a lot to do with the skyline of New York. There is actually a Louis Trenker movie from, I don't know, 30s, and there is a fade in from the mountains, the Alps, into the New York skyline.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he leaves the mountains and goes to New York to try his luck.
So how did the Warhol-Basquiat photo shoot come about?
I had met Jean-Michel at a photo shoot that I had done for Eric Good for Area, of all these artists that he had assembled for a dinner at Mr. Chow on 57th Street. And Jean-Michel was in that group. And we spoke a little bit. And then a couple of months later, I got a call from Paige Powell, who asked me to come to a dinner that Andy was having, a private dinner. I arrived a little bit late, and there was only one seat left, and it was right next to Jean-Michel. And I sat down, and he turned to me, and he said, I've been a big fan of your work for many years, for 5 years, specifically. He said 5 years. He said, would you be interested in making that picture? And I said, yeah, of course, I'd love to do that. But in my mind, I thought, that's not going to happen. You know, somebody bigger than me is going to get that. And we walked outside of the bathroom, and Jean-Michel said to Andy, Michael's going to do that picture of us with the boxing, you know, for the boxing poster. And Andy said, oh, but we asked Robert Mapplethorpe to do it. And I said, well, there you go. It didn't even last 30 seconds. You know, it's like, we're done. It's done. And so we sat down, and Jean-Michel said, no, Michael's going to do it. And Andy said, oh, well, I love Michael's portraits. It'll be great.
There was a sort of weak resistance movement to Hudson Yards, and they were saying, keep the old neighborhood, protect, you know, the people who are already living here. But it was mostly warehouses and horse stables for the carriages.
It was a bad area. I think when I was a kid, we looked at a TV show called Baretta. And I think Baretta was from Chelsea.
Oh, really?
I think so. He had a parrot, but I'm not sure. It's my idea about it because it was the meat district, and they go to all the industry houses. And
everyone who grows up someplace else has an idea of New York based on TV shows.
That's kind of been the legacy of filmmaking at City College. You know, initially when the Institute of Film Techniques was founded in 1941, it became a magnet for dropouts from physics, chemistry, engineering, and you know, that was step one, that they were attracted. Step two, which was even more difficult, is they had to go home and convince their parents that you could actually major in movies. So, and that was the harder.
Yeah, no, I mean, I found it interesting in Cinnamon Sanctuary that so many of those kids, those Jewish kids mostly, are from like families fleeing, you know, Nazi Germany or dictatorships. And here they are in the US, set up to do something that's basically like proletariat storytelling. It's a hive of socialists, communists, you know, thinkers.
All the buildings are his.
Yeah.
They're all his holdings in Manhattan. It felt really cathartic to make it.
And people probably didn't think it was any big deal because they're all filming it worshipfully too, or something.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe a little bit like the rally people. You kind of develop this taxonomy of, you know, you understand how people act at a certain location. There are these gestures that are repeated over and over again.
And you try to fit in a little bit, or you just
not
realize that they know that you've got some other purpose here.
I look kind of crazy because I've got this camera that looks like it's from the 19th century.
Right.
And you know, literally lying on the sidewalk sometimes. But it was really fun. It was really this kinetic way of shooting that was super fun. And
I mean, failing up suggests, I mean, to me it felt a little bit like the Trump administration's, you know, daily charade, you know, it just felt to me like this kind of slapstick performance, and it's all about money and real estate and, you know, and attention-getting devices and things like that.
And like, no matter what you do, you land on, like, you end up, you know, coming up on top, which is so maddening.
The city was
sort of the climax of Roaring Twenties. It looked like it would go on forever. She was hired by Fortune magazine to shoot portraits. By the time she began to do her Changing New York, that was owned by the government. Because it was funded by the feds.
Federal Art Project.
The Federal Art Project. And that was 5 years then into the Depression.
So, I mean, it'd be interesting to think what she would think of the Me Too movement, or even this kind of construction we're seeing here in Hudson Yards of New York now. Is that?
Oh, she'd just see money pouring out everywhere. And the influence of it over anything human, even though it's really beautiful to look at.
But Twilight Talks is about more than New York. Each guest, whether they are a painter, writer, filmmaker, or photographer, has a particular perspective on the world, offering highly specialized areas of thought on subjects that touch all of us, from questions of race, gender, identity, sexuality, nationality, all explored through their work and offered here as topics of conversation.
After I won the Oscar, my hometown invited me back with like a ticker tape parade, and the mayor gave me the key to the city, and the governor of Pennsylvania named it Roger Ross Williams Day, and Senator Casey, who's still the senator for Pennsylvania. And it was like this whole thing, and then I had to go and I addressed my entire high school, and I said to them, it's all the kids who think they're like outcasts and weird and the freaks and the nerds and the geeks. You are going to be the most successful people in the world.
And then I just started noticing how the gender roles were very much assigned and have been assigned throughout art history. Like depending on where you look, like there tends to be male hunters and women in the kitchen, or women as these sexual objects. And so I just thought about like reassigning those roles or changing them in a way so that we would start to see, you know, maybe these female figures, like they need to be re-registered in our psyche.
I don't know social history well enough to actually know what I'm about to say, but it seems to me that that probably women did things that they didn't get credit for a lot throughout history.
Exactly, and there are so many people who are completely, you know, unrecognized for the contribution that they're making in our world.
One of the odd things about the American political situation, which is consistent with the way that Americans view ourselves, is that there is this exceptionalism, right? It's as if they can't see the deeply interconnected roots of our problems with, the Philippines, or with, all of my friends in Kenya and Sudan say, oh no, you've got an African leader now, so it's been really good. You've got someone who's full of bombast and rhetoric and false nostalgia. That's a global phenomenon, and we are as interconnected in that same way. We are still kind of recovering from the mid-90s identity politics, is that it does turn us all to looking inward.
I realize that when you write, you cannot have shame. I can have shame with people, but I cannot have shame when I write. If I'm going to write, I'm going to have to say what it is that I feel. And I find that younger people who are not even 20 today, are totally comfortable with sort of this kind of malleable and floating free sexuality. One day they're this, the other hour they're that. They are both at the same time. Isn't this what humanity has always been like?
And that was a surprise to me to look at the work again at that time. But I almost feel that, it's resonated a lot more now. And I think that also has a lot to do with, on the one hand, this sort of, people are looking at a lot of women artists who were overlooked at the time, and we're seeing a lot of this work from that time that was very much connected to the women's movement and with feminism. And then all of the, the situation of women today, the misogyny that we're seeing in the politics of the country, the whole, violence against women that's being now seen for the first time almost. And I think that my photographs, even though they weren't necessarily about violence, they resonate.
And maybe also gay people are prey to it as well, or susceptible to it, or in the habit of doing it, because you're in a world where everyone around you is not like you in a certain way, and you have to make this imaginative leap to imagine what they're thinking of you, because you're the out group and they're the in group, and they're not going to be doing the work of imagining what you're thinking of them.
If we tie it back to historical beginnings of Manifest Destiny, the American West, how it was documented, how we think of landscape dominated by the male mind, mining resources. When I think about that, and I think about the queer body and the American landscape, there is this connection. I think about ecofeminism and the idea of landscape, and the female body has been dominated by this patriarchal power system. As a queer person, I also feel that this kind of patriarchal society has kind of dominated queer bodies and the landscape. So in a way, it was a performance to kind of go out to these places, and it's a performance to kind of be in these spaces that are not necessarily safe for queer people.
However, those definitions or those labels are falling out. The truth is, we're all very fluid. Young people are incredibly fluid in terms of identity, and I think feels to me like there's this really acute reactionary moment where everyone must be categorized for the sake of control or something like that.
Totally. I feel like I'm Mexican, but I don't look Mexican, and I'm really mixed. I'm Jewish, Mexican, American. My mother is Scandinavian, so it's quite a mixture. But I feel that sometimes fascist powers try to kind of pit identities against each other rather than thinking about how we can have solidarity with people that might not look like us.
Of course, central to our lives as social beings is the larger fabric of politics, environmental changes, and the internet, all of which have shown worrying signs of escalating dysfunction since Twilight Talks started 3 years ago. Guests on this show have made keen observations on the nature of those problems, helping us to understand them better, and have even, at times, sounded alarms.
Without knowing quite what I wanted to do with it, I just started drawing on it as a way of maybe trying to get inside of what was happening. And little did I know it would be kind of like one of the early shots of the coming financial crisis, which would happen a couple of years later. As I progressed inside this body of work, it occurred to me that all collagists are kind of working with this sort of collective imagery of the world, right? And the newspaper is already that, a commingling of editors and writers and photographers and fact checkers, and they've all come together as this hive mind. Now everybody has their own micro bubbles of their confirmation biases are all being answered inside whatever media bubble sphere they tend to be in. So our realities and our perceptions and the notions of truth and fake news and non-truth. I mean, art is kind of not such a bad place to sort of like look at these issues.
There were a few personal experiences that created this vantage point that a single image would no longer suffice for me. And then there were a few cultural shifts that happened. And like I mentioned before, the screen viewing of photography and the pace of viewing and the way that we're, you know, viewing multiples at the same time. But then also, my father passed away in 2009, and we were just talking about I had a head injury, and it just didn't, like, but then it was just on a physical level, it just didn't compute, you know?
The world
broke. Moment didn't mean the same thing anymore, and nor was a single image able to capture, for me, what felt like, I guess, a kind of temporal collapse or expansion that happens at those moments.
We sort of grew up after the Second World War, where fascism had been defeated, and we had this idea that we now go, progress happens, we go forward, and things are going to get better, and we're going to overcome all of the different problems we have in our society.
And also women's rights and gay rights and racial differences and all these things, but no, you can regress so quickly and so easily.
And then it's, and I think that is the most horrifying aspect of it, that, you know, then you, of course, you look at history and you realize it's always been like that, it's always gone on in cycles. But we're just horrified that we're having to live through this right now.
The system, as it is, the global system, wants everything to be the same, I guess, so it can be traded and
controlled and exploited.
Exactly.
You see, it's the exploitative mind that has taken over this planet, and if it continues that way, there will be no planet to exploit anymore.
I think the use increasingly of toxic masculinity and that sort of thing, I think that is a true evil that's unleashed on the land.
That ain't real masculinity, it's pretend masculinity.
Right.
And this period come with this heat and everything be rotten. It's always in August. I think it's the same here. And then I start thinking about different times for human being, and I understand our time is the dog days. We live in the dog days. Every day is dog days right now.
When I was in Mexico, I was doing a story on La Bestia. It's the train that takes the migrants up north. And I was shooting there, and the kid fell. And he lost his left leg, left arm, and left leg. So first, as a journalist, you ask yourself, what are you going to do? Are you going to film, or are you going to help out? So I made the choice to film. So that's a big decision. Second big decision is, like, when you edit the film, are you going to show the arm and the leg that were severed or not? In the end, we decided to show, because, like, as a journalist, to make an impact, really like a punch, to try to get people to act. Also, it's also my way of trying to counter all the falsehoods and everything that's wrong being said about immigration. That's wrong. That's just because by people who don't know what they're talking about.
Do you feel like you get at any more truth in having 12 perspectives on the same scene, or does it just kind of complicate things?
It's definitely a search for truth, but I don't think that I come closer. I mean, sometimes I think that the photos are even more an obstruction to reality, actually, and my work shows that photography is actually an obstacle for us to perceive reality. But the interesting thing is actually that every camera is right, or every image is not more or less right than the other. So they have all the same value, basically.
That sort of movement, which is the sort of evangelical far-right movement, is the fastest growing religious movement in the world. Much faster than Islam. The goal of the leaders of that movement is what drives anyone to want to conquer other people and other people's ideas is money. Donald Trump is a white supremacist, and his movement around him is white supremacy. It's a Third Reich. It's like we are experiencing this white supremacist movement in the world globally, and no one's calling it out for what is this? Almost like the media is. The media is afraid to utter the words. The term "America is full" is a Nazi term.
Artists of all kinds try to see and describe the world closely, but they also imagine other worlds, often through alternative narratives, humor, and other kinds of coping mechanisms. As we navigate these fascinating and troubled times, there is wisdom in the vision of creative thinkers and inspiration in their various approaches to living their lives.
My husband also said, is if you can make it through mid-career, you can be working for a long time. And I remember I had my first show when I was 29 at Artist Space. And I remember thinking, it was like a game show, there are two doors. One door is money and one door is critical response. And I was written about in the Village Voice. It was by Ben Lifson the first time I saw my name in print. And I regret to this day that I chose the critical door, but I did because I thought, I want to stay current in some way, meaning I want to stay in people's awareness. I want them to know what I'm doing. I want to be around for a really long time and make my art.
There was a lot of that parody going on when people were doing videos, using something about the art world. So I really avoided that at first anyway, and I talked about more ordinary things. I didn't talk about sex or violence or art in the early things. So I thought that was better strategy, I think. I didn't really know how rare and wonderful that was. What I was doing, it was just what we were doing. But to have them lay down flat anywhere, even out in this beach or whatever, just flat and just wait was pretty amazing. So to do the dog alphabet with them, I can't do that with the dogs I have now. They have to be up tall looking at you.
Being a parent is just such a gift, regardless of art, no art, whatever. You want to be your best for your kids, and they've certainly seen me at my worst, and they've seen me obviously at my most vulnerable self, and that's okay too. Like I want that to be able to be part of our relationship, but there's another part where I want to be my best self for them.
What I'm interested in somehow conveying with my work is there's a deep sadness, there's a political angst that's behind all of this new work that I've been doing, but at the same time, this color kind of can feel like there's hope, there's something deep inside that rock, deep inside that mountain that's emanating all this energy. That's where I think that planet may live on.
I actually did a project in 2018 at Smack Melon in Brooklyn, and I was invited to create a show or installation in the space I think the day after Trump was inaugurated. And so I was like, okay, I have to do something because in a year from now we are really going to need a place to go to that will quiet our minds. And I was thinking about Egyptians would make these walled off garden premises that would protect themselves from the outer climates. And so I was thinking about how we will need protection from a political climate at that time. And so the show I used these paintings to put into the windows that were faux stained glass works that were creating an interior garden. So I wanted to have a place where you could reflect on your interior self.
This is my life. You're describing the depression that I'm struggling with, which is the culture seems to be turning away from novels. And I, grew up wanting to write them, and now I'm a grown-up and I get to write them, and now, it seems like they are trying to yank away the plate just as I've sat down to dinner. I think people have forgotten that novels are something they can enjoy. But I live in the world, I know the pulls on people. So it's not that people don't have the time, but there is something about the hot medium versus the cool medium.
Do you feel that painting is less or more relevant now in the world? And I think sometimes painting's like poetry, it feels so archaic. And yet, I feel the whole society really wants to escape into fantasy more and more.
If that's what my paintings do for people, I'm thrilled. I'm so thrilled. If it gives them a moment to pause, then that's what I would love my work to do for people. I have no agenda with my work other than to make people pause for a second.
Children live in the present. That's what they do. They are present tense beings. And it is up to us who have a little more history, a little more time behind us or under our belts to create the connective tissue for their ideas, for their hearts, for their heads.
In a moment in world history where it feels perhaps as it's felt before in other decades or centuries that the world's coming to an end? Are the children still this sort of,
do I believe,
optimism?
Do I believe the children are the future?
Yes.
Young people have so much less anxiety around their own hybrid natures than any adult does. And I think that beyond everything else does give me a lot of hope.
I'm not interested about sentimental things. I'm not interested to glorify another time, because the time before us was not better than the time we are in today. It was almost the same, but in another way. But for me, it's also interesting to see how things repeat and coming back again and again. And I mean, for example, Shakespeare, you mentioned him. He always going to be important for people because he talk about interesting things who are important to be a human being. And it's also the same in the visual art. If you look at Piero della Francesca, for example, and you look at the painting Adoption, it's still the same feeling if you have a baby and you give the baby a name.
As we end 2019 and enter the fourth year of the Trump administration, many challenges, some practical, some imaginative, lie ahead. This program has certainly intended to suggest a descent into darkness, but it is also intended to reveal flashes of light in the form of ideas, empathy, and other generous aspects of the creative human spirit. We hope you will join us in 2020 for more editions of Twilight Talks featuring additional inspiring thinkers as we express our belief in democracy and find ways together to overcome adversity. Happy New Year, and thanks for watching.